Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Apa khabar semua? So hari ni kita sambung chapter yang ke-6, iaitu berkenaan dengan Building Maintenance and Management Plan Execution. Okay. So for the overview, electrical, mechanical and civil engineering is a professional engineer. Okay, it's a professional engineering field. Okay, discipline that deal with design, construction and maintenance of the physical and naturally built environment. Okay, not only the electrical but mechanical and civil also is the example of the professional field of engineering field lah. Okay, so the fact in terms of engineer, okay, engineer deals with fact and figures. Responsibility and liability is for life. So this is engineer's responsibility and liability lah. Is for life, has no expiry date except death. Okay, and then the engineer face huge challenges to defend his works as anybody has capability to query. And the engineer deals with safety of properties and life. Okay, and then the engineer converts ideas into reality. So di sinilah dia peranan sebagai seorang engineer. Okay, that's why anything happen to the building, so anything happen to the project, so engineer akan dipersalahkan lah. So engineer will be blamed lah. Okay, so sebab any design, any execution and any works including the maintenance is actually under the engineering field and conducted by the engineer lah for any particular engineering field, either electrical, mechanical or civil. Okay, so macam mana yang kita bayangkan the fact that the engineer converts ideas into reality. Bagaimana kita boleh tak terbayangkan bagaimana wujudnya zaman sekarang ni, dia smartphone. Okay, zaman saya dulu memang ramai manusia tak terfikir untuk smartphone. Okay, all the information adalah berada di depan mata, di hujung jari. Okay, and ini semua adalah hasil idea by the engineer and they convert this idea into reality. Okay, hidup sebagai engineer ni bukan sahaja untuk diri dia sendiri, tetapi untuk societies juga. And then for the electrical, mechanical and civil engineer, there are two kind of the engineer. First is specialist and another is general. So the difference between specialist and general is obviously for the specialist engineer, for example geotechnical engineer, earthwork engineer, road engineer, drainage, water supplies, sewerage, marine, structural and other specialist lah. Okay, kalau kita lihat kat sini, dia is these are the knowledgeable is less subject but an expert of specific subject. Okay, dia cuma tahu bidang dia sahaja. Tapi kalau untuk general engineer such as a planning engineer, site engineer and then maintenance engineer and administrative engineer, okay, they are knowledgeable in many subjects but not an expert of any subject. Meaning that for the general engineer compared to the specialist engineer, specialist dia cuma tahu bidang dia saja, manakala general engineer dia tahu banyak bidang, banyak subjek, tapi dia tak expert. Okay, dia tak expert on the certain subject. Okay, for example for the maintenance engineer, it might be knowledgeable in terms of maintenance planning, maybe costing accounting, okay, tapi dia tak specialist bidang tu, tapi dia tahu bidang tu. Okay, that's why the good engineer boleh dikatakan sebagai seorang yang versatile lah. Okay, dia boleh tahu, dia tahu segala-galanya. That is the definition of the good engineer. But managers is decision, or the decision makers come under this category. Okay, under the category general engineer. Okay, they can manage, they can decide, okay, and then they execute, design, manage, and execute. That's the engineer. Okay, so the engineer in society plays a role which on first impression or are not linked to their professional training. The training received as an engineer is part of the reason which an engineer can display his versatility. Okay, peranan engineer di dalam masyarakat, in society, okay, is require training, to receive the training in order to display their versatility lah. In fact, engineers as manager, engineers as scientists, engineers as expert, engineers as politicians, academics, lawyers, salesmen, entrepreneurs. Susah betul nak sebut. Okay, macam saya engineer as academics. Okay, so sebagai saya under the engineer as academics, saya perlu train sebagai academics. Kalau engineer as an electrical engineer, so he must train to become as a good electrical engineer. Okay, dia walaupun dia tak spesialis kepada satu bidang, tetapi dia tahu pelbagai bidang yang related kepada electrical. Okay, so engineer or responsibility to the general public, safety, environment, direct consumer of the project, fellow engineers, and the clients. Ini yang saya cakap tadi. Okay, engineer bukan untuk diri dia sendiri, tetapi dia untuk orang lain. Diri dia, knowledge dia, skills dia adalah untuk ni, 4 kategori ni: public, safety, environment, society. Okay, and then the consumer of the project. Okay, after the project commissioning, siapa yang akan occupy that building, okay, is a consumer. Then what happen if something occurring to the building? Siapa yang akan dipersalahkan? Engineer. Okay, so the responsibility of the engineer is very high lah in this case. And then a fellow engineer, di antara their colleagues, okay, in order, because as in engineering field, they are not working alone, they are working in team. Okay, and then the clients, government and industry lah, this is the need to fulfill the needs of government and industry lah. Okay, and then engineers owe duty to themselves, which are inherent in their works and institution to which they belong. Okay, legal requirement, professional negligence. In order to become as a good engineer or professional engineer, they must have legal requirement lah, macam yang awak lihat di dalam regular document. Okay, to be as an engineer, any category of engineer, you have to follow all the requirement in order to appoint as a good particular engineer field lah. Okay, and then the contractual duties and the greater good lah. Ini engineers owe duty, yang tadi engineers responsibility. Okay, engineers must have exposure to other field of knowledge and skill in order to be able to properly discharge his function. This is yang previous slide, become as a general engineer. Okay, they are knowledgeable less. Okay, apa tadi, they are, lupa pula saya, knowledgeable in many subject but not an expert of any subject. Compared to the specialist, is only knowledgeable on their specialist subject saja, specific subject. Okay, so that's why as an engineer we must have another exposure, like the oral and written. That's why in UTEM, okay, you are trained to become as engineer, not only specific to the electrical. For example, for electrical engineering student, not only specific to the electrical in your class, but you have to conduct the presentation for the assignment, then a written, write the report, technical report, and so on. That one is the exposure for you before you graduate and become as an engineer lah. Okay, and then economic and finance, law, presentation of self. Economic and finance, kalau awak perasan di dalam UTEM, subjek universiti awak dikendaki untuk mengambil satu subjek yang dinamakan entrepreneurship. Saya tak pasti untuk degree sahaja ataupun ada untuk diploma. Di situ kita expose student to be in order to able to manage the finance lah. Okay, sebab sebagai engineer juga awak perlu tahu how to conduct the business lah. Engineer also is a business. Okay, so in another day you are, maybe you are become as a contractor. Okay, as a contractor, contractor is also the business. And then the paradigm shift. Engineers should not merely respond to needs, they should create or anticipate the needs and be leader of society. Okay, apa-apa kerja untuk engineer adalah hanya untuk society, to anticipate the needs, okay, by the society, and then foresight, okay, foresight for unfulfilled needs. Apa yang society tak dapat, engineer kena fulfill the society needs tu. Itulah engineer sebenarnya. So in order to become as an engineer is not easy as you think lah. Okay, that's why in order to have a certificate of engineer and an accreditation of the engineer, okay, at least you have to attend the class at least 4 years program, okay, before your graduation. And then the responsibilities of the university and also faculty is to fulfill the accreditation needs and requirement by the ETEC, for example, for diploma by ETEC. Okay, untuk kita nak dapatkan periktirafan. Kalau untuk degree by EAC, Accreditation Council, Engineering Accreditation Council, kena fulfill requirement dia. Okay, otherwise the certificate that you belong to during the graduation is not valid. Valid dari segi apa? Valid dari segi untuk kita nak apply for the professional engineer. Okay, and then to fulfill the needs of the industry. Mungkin industri nakkan certificate yang betul-betul di accredit ataupun yang betul-betul sijil yang laku lah, maksudnya sijil yang telah diiktirafkan oleh certain board of engineer lah. Itu tujuan dia. Okay, so building maintenance kenapa awak kena belajar building maintenance? Sebab after your graduation, okay, as a diploma holder, okay, not as a degree holder, sebagai diploma holder, okay, apa yang saya predict adalah your profession awak selepas graduation adalah paling tinggi as assistant engineer. Okay, ataupun awak boleh di dalam position maintenance engineer ataupun service engineer. Whatever is, you are under the engineering field, you are under the scope of engineer work. Cumanya awak tak boleh jadi leader kepada engineering field tu lah. Untuk menjadi leader, dia adalah professional engineer. In order to be as a professional engineer, they must have a degree holder lah. Okay, kalau awak selepas ni awak sambung belajar degree, another 3 years or 4 years after the graduation, so you can practice as a engineer. Okay, professional engineer after several years, you can apply the professional engineer lah. Okay, so the definition of the building maintenance is the combination of technical and administrative action to ensure the items and elements of a building in an acceptable standard to perform its required function. Okay, it's not only the technical, but it's combination between technical and administrative action. So, sebab di dalam maintenance dia melibatkan plan, melibatkan cost, not only the technical one. Technical means you are able to, you have the knowledge to do the maintenance things lah, either the electrical maintenance works or civil structure maintenance works. Okay, and another factor is you have to know the administration action, how to do the planning, how to execute the preventive maintenance, for example. Okay, so these are the 8 classifications of building maintenance. Okay, ada 8 class. Okay, and the definition of the building maintenance. First is condition-based maintenance, is maintenance when need arise. Okay, condition, bila sesuatu any failure or any any incident occur, okay, this maintenance is needs. This is condition. Condition means kalau kita tak buat maintenance, dia akan membahayakan society ataupun occupants. So that maintenance is compulsory in this case. And then the corrective maintenance is required when an item has failed or worn out. Ini kalau misal kata selepas kita melakukan audit, kita ada nampak sebarang hazard. Okay, hazard contohnya kabel terdedah ke, ataupun risk yang kita nampak boleh menyebabkan kemalangan ataupun kecederaan kepada occupants ataupun consumer. So kita kena buat satu correction lah untuk kita perbetulkan keadaan tersebut. That's one is a corrective maintenance. And the planned maintenance is a schedule. If we talk about the plan, so it means schedule. Okay, we schedule the service visit carried out by competent agent. This one is related to the audit process lah. And then the predictive maintenance, prediction when maintenance should be performed. Bila maintenance kita perlu lakukan. Kita predict sesuatu bangunan, agak-agak bangunan ni dia boleh the liability of the building tu agak-agak boleh sampai beberapa bulan ke beberapa tahun. So we have to predict. Okay, either our prediction is the maintenance must be done in every 6 months, for example. So every 6 months we have to schedule the visit. Okay, and then preventive maintenance performed specifically to prevent fault from occurring. This one is the best example is related to the electrical wiring lah, for example. Okay, so kita nampak wiring yang kabel yang dah lama, yang dah nak expire. Ni kabel electrical ada expired especially for the exposed cable, they actually have the expiry date lah. So that's why it's preventive, to prevent any short circuit. So we have to perform the special maintenance lah. And then the proactive maintenance is a maintenance strategy for stabilizing the reliability of equipment. Okay, this one is related to the maintenance of the any equipment. For example, the escalator, elevator, okay, the light, and so on lah. Is about the equipment. And the reliability centered maintenance is a process to ensure that assets continue to do what their user require. This one is reliability centered maintenance. For example, the for example, the equipment yang consumer selalu gunakan ataupun required by the consumer. For example, those in the shopping mall, escalator and also the elevator is the transportation, building transportation yang selalu digunakan oleh occupant lah. So di situ kita kena pastikan the reliability of the assets can be continuous in a working way lah. And the value driven maintenance is a maintenance management methodology. Ini dalam in our previous chapter saya ada terangkan berkenaan dengan maintenance methodology is related to the audit. Okay. Okay. Untuk yang dalam ke-88 classification ni, saya nak tekankan berkenaan dengan preventive maintenance lah. Okay, because is not directly, is nearly related to your field lah. You are under electrical field, right? So in order to prevent fault, just as I said before, the best example is if we think about the fault occurring because of the electrical fail lah. Okay, so preventive maintenance. Okay, the objective of the maintenance to extend the useful life of the building. Okay, useful life of the building and prevent premature capital outlay for replacement. Kita nak gunakan bangunan tu lama kan. Okay, so kita nak extend the life of the building. So that's why maintenance is required. Okay, seperti di Melaka banyak yang bangunan-bangunan lama yang kita nak kekalkan. Kerana sebab apa? Sebab kita nak kekalkan the nature of Melaka city tu. Sebab Melaka kita panggil historical place kan. So bila dah dikatakan sebagai historical place, kalau kita buang semua bangunan-bangunan yang bersejarah tu, so dah tak jadi dah. Okay, dah tak jadi dah historical place of Melaka tu. That's why untuk kita nak kekalkan the liability of that building, and also kita nak extend the life of the building supaya dia tak menjadi lapuk, dia tak menjadi the structure tak menjadi rapuh. So kita punya maintenance kita kena titik beratkan. And then another objective is to satisfy lender or insurer requirement to provide a safe, secure and efficient working and living environment and to avoid the deterioration of physical assets. Okay, maybe the building is belongs to some utilities, or maybe belong to some organisation, and that organisation maybe funding some of money. Okay, so that's why we have to maintain the reliability of the building lah. Okay, otherwise that company or that organisation will think that they are wasting the money lah. Okay, and then the third one is to maximize the aesthetic and economic value of a building, as well as increase the health and safety of the occupants. is economic values. Okay, kalau kita lihat building residential building, and then this is what happen if we do the maintenance, or we do the preventive maintenance and so on. So kita lihat before and after, lebih baik kan. And then this one is the maintenance process work lah. Kita cat balik bangunan, so kita akan nampak lebih estetik, dan kita boleh nampak bangunan tu lebih economic value kat situ. Nampak bangunan tu berharga kat situ. Nampak cantik, and then the life of the building pun kita boleh reliable kat situ. Again, the benefit can be short term or long term, and can be reflected in the areas of physical, financial or human resources. Okay, benefit can be short term and long term. First, maintenance will preserve the physical characteristics of a building and its services. Okay, preserve the physical characteristic of the building. Fewer breakdowns and lower future maintenance costs. Higher productivity and less wastage of materials, and improve organization sales revenue. Okay, with the good maintenance, we can preserve the physical characteristic. Okay, kalau kita tak jaga maintenance, maybe will make the worst of the physical characteristic. So kat sini akan melibatkan maintenance cost lah, maintenance cost yang tinggi. Okay, and then the higher productivity will be affected. Okay, and then the B is the improved condition of the building give positive effect to the users, resulting in lower staff turnover, better customer relation and public image. First, we want to preserve the physical characteristic. The second one, we want to improve the condition of the building. Okay, we want to improve the condition. Maintenance planning. Okay, maintenance planning should start at the design stage of any building projects and should continue throughout the life of that building. Whatever is, maintenance planning should start at the design stage, from the design stage. So before we start to execute the project, we must have the prototype, right? Okay, after the prototype, we have to start the actual design. Okay, so di dalam design proses tu kita dah foresight, ataupun kita dah predict what kind of maintenance that we can do for that building, and what kind of how much the maintenance cost. Okay, then the many buildings are destroyed not by outside force such as weathering factors like heavy rain and drought, but by insufficient or improper design. That's why the maintenance, that's why whatever is start with the design stage. Okay, kalau design stage kita dah design stage kita pun dah nampak, kita dah boleh predict, ini bangunan ni tak boleh tahan dalam 10 tahun ni. Okay, kita mesti bermula dengan design stage supaya kita boleh predict bangunan ni boleh tahan, reliability of that building, it can be preserved until 1 decade, for example. Okay, for the long term. Okay, during the design stage, through bad housekeeping, inadequate maintenance and neglect during its full operation, minor problem can grow into a major one through neglect, and which can be affected to other building. Okay, ini biasalah, kalau kita mulanya kita ada duit, kita buat sesuatu, and then bila dah projek tu dah siap, kita dah commissioning that project, kita dah serahkan to the consumer or to the owner, then kita lepaskan tanggungjawab kita. Okay, kita dah lepaskan tanggungjawab kita, padahal masih lagi di bawah tanggungjawab kita bangunan tu. Jadi saya nak cakap, okay, contohnya macam ni. kita ada satu company dan company kita nak buat satu bangunan dan kita hired several number of engineer. Okay, this involve the structural engineer, civil, mechanical and electrical engineer involved in that project. Okay, and then after the completion of the project and after the commissioning process, kita tak buat any adequate maintenance. That's why kita nampak ada satu defect yang kecil kita abaikan. That defect might become the big problem. Daripada kecil, the small problem then become as the big problem because of our neglection. Kita neglect the minor problem. That's why the minor problem which can grow into a major one through neglect. Jadi bila dah jadi major, okay, baru kita nak buat maintenance. Dekat situlah akan berlakunya high maintenance cost, akan efek kepada cost. Nanti kita akan tengok graf, contoh graf. Okay, all the new building as a matter of cost should be provided with a maintenance manual. So daripada start from the design stage, okay, daripada design stage lagi kita dah predict bangunan ni nanti maintenance ni macam mana, what kind of maintenance yang kita boleh lakukan, okay, dan cara kita nak buat maintenance tu. So we have to provide with a maintenance manual. Apa-apa produk, kalau kita beli apa-apa produk di kedai pun tak kisahlah. Ini bukan bidang, ini bukan in the context of building. Any product that we bought from any shop, okay, the product will come with the manual, right? The manual guide. Okay, what is the content of the manual guide? Okay, the manual guides will guide you as a owner how to do the maintenance to the product in order to preserve, okay, the reliability of product, in order to ensure that product can work and can increase the life of the working. Okay, boleh berfungsi dengan baik dengan keadaan yang lama. Kalau kita tak buat maintenance, macam mana keadaan produk kita? Contohnya kenderaan. Kalau kita tahu pakai je, kita tak buat maintenance, apa berlaku pada kenderaan kita? Dengan kita bandingkan dengan orang yang buat maintenance secara rutin ataupun schedule. Kenderaan beli sama, tarikh yang sama, okay, penggunaan yang sama, tetapi seorang ni buat schedule maintenance, seorang lagi ni dia neglect the maintenance. So kita boleh bayangkan yang seorang ni yang neglect maintenance ni mungkin dia boleh buat maintenance in other end, but is involve the high maintenance cost lah compared to this one, another one, because of schedule maintenance. So in other day, the maintenance cost might be lower than another one, this one, yang lagi seorang kan. Okay, so this is the example of the building. If we have the poor maintenance schedule, neglect the minor one, so inilah akan jadi pada bangunan kita. Jadi kalau kita nak refurbish bangunan ni akan makan masa, akan melibatkan kos yang tinggi lah. So lebih baik kita bukan refurbish tapi demolish. Okay, so maintenance planning. Is building maintenance important? It was important that building continue to be properly maintained to ensure that they can function as efficiently and effectively as possible. Why? The deterioration of building due to the lack of maintenance could lead to future financial burden. Ini yang saya cakap tadi. Okay? Kalau kita have the lack of maintenance, kita neglect the minor defect, okay, in future, ia akan involve the financial burden, post-legal and other industrial relation issues and affect the delivery of services. Okay? Effect the delivery of services means akan mengganggu servis bangunan tersebut lah. Okay. And then why? Another one is Identifying building problem and understanding of building material and its mechanical and electrical system are aspects of the process of preserving and conserving building quality and to ensure the efficiencies of the facilities. Yang ini related to the maintenance manual. Kalau kita tahu the material building, kita tahu mechanical and wiring system of that building, so is can help us how to do the maintenance very well. Okay. And then the category of the maintenance planning, building maintenance can also be categorized according to who carry out the maintenance work. For example, housekeeping maintenance takkan kita nak serahkan tugas ni kepada electrical engineer ataupun electrical service maintenance. Electrical service maintenance is more suitable to do under related to the electrical work. Okay, but they can do the housekeeping maintenance because they are general engineer. Okay, but they are not specialist to this one. Okay, the second line maintenance carry out by specialist building tradespeople, orang yang lebih tahu, orang yang lebih memahami wiring diagram, orang yang lebih memahami mechanical diagram. Okay, that is the category, two categories, housekeeping and second line maintenance. Okay, so this is the example of the bar graph for the serious defect in existing dwelling. This is the example in United Kingdom lah. Okay, actually this one is also related in Malaysia lah. Okay, kalau awak lihat the two classification which is civil and structure engineering design related and also mechanical and electrical engineering design related. As we can see here, the serious disrepair is 38%. Untuk yang related to electrical and mechanical engineering, for example lighting and also heating is only 4% and 6%. Okay. For the civil and structure is about 3% for drainage, 6% for sanitation and 7% structural stability. Okay. The highest serious defect is serious disrepair. Maknanya dia tak ada melakukan apa-apa maintenance. So defect tu akan tinggi. The percentage of defect tu akan lebih tinggi. So this one the occurrence of the defect by element in mainly non-residential properties. Yang tadi residential, yang ni non-residential. Kalau kita lihat dekat sini untuk berkaitan dengan civil and structure is only 4%, but for CNS, civil and structure and mechanical and electrical engineering, for services for services is 7%. Okay, 7% occurrence of defect. Kalau lagi flooring 10%, makin meningkat. External cavity walls, this one is the defect, the occurring defect that might be occurred is more than 10%. The others, this one is not tak berapa ni lah, tak pastilah. Okay, not sure. 20% the others is this one. Okay, but this one the flooring is 10% compared to the service. Okay, and also the structure framing is only involved 4% and 7%. And then the fault in the new building housing. Okay, substructure is the lowest percentage lah, which related to the civil and structure for the new building. Okay, nama pun new building, so substructure tu masih baru, so dia punya fault tu percentage dia paling rendah lah. Okay, untuk new building external wall is the fault paling tinggi lah. Ini biasalah, saya beli rumah baru pun external wall memang akan under selalunya customer akan claim under the warranty lah. And then also the roof. Okay, yang melibatkan M&E services okay, wiring tak berapa kemas and so on lah. Okay, not properly wiring. Okay, and then the upper floor and ceilings semua ni, this one is the possibilities happen for the new build housing lah. Okay, the substructure. Dah sampai slide berapa? Sampai slide 23. Kita akan berhenti dalam slide 25 untuk part 1 Okay, substructure. Most foundation difficulties arise from weak and compressible soil and exceptionally heavy load. Trouble may be caused by either the imposed load or independent movement of the ground. So substructure is very important in this case lah, disebabkan oleh this factor lah. So approximately 50% housing substructure fault relate to cracking and settlement. 30% to defective dam-proof causes, and 17% to durability of masonry below dam-proof causes. So 50% is the highest percentage, is about the substructure fault related to cracking. So substructure, that's why dalam previous slide, apa-apa is during the design stage. Substructure is related to design stage. Ni palang-palang ni. Okay, yang ini main peranan dalam segi kekukuhan bangunan. So kalau substructure kita tak kuat, so the overall structure akan jadi defect. Itu akan jadi substructure fault will affect to the cracking and settlement. Okay. Okay, the distribution of defect by building type. Okay, we have the health building, factories, shop and commercial, educational building, office and public building, flats and houses. Why the houses is most contribution is more than 30% of the defect? Okay, sebab apa? Sebab the owners, okay, the owner house of the houses, normally the individual responsibilities lah, kebiasaannya kita akan mengabaikan maintenance compared to the factories. Especially factory, they have their own maintenance teams. Also for the shop and commercial, they have their own maintenance team. So maintenance schedule, the good maintenance might be happen lah kat situ. That's why their percentage is lower than house and also flats. Kalau flats ni kebiasaannya developer of the building tu lah yang dia dah dapat duit, dia dah serahkan kepada consumer, kepada buyer, so dia abaikan. Selepas habis warranty dia abaikan. Okay, so benda tu possible lah. Okay, and so this is what happen if we neglect the maintenance, then we neglect the minor one. This one is ini disebabkan oleh asalnya kita nampak the small cracking lah, kita biarkan. Okay, padahal kita boleh maintain, kita boleh avoid from this happen dengan kita tahu ni disebabkan apa. Disebabkan oleh permukaan tanah, kepadatan tanah di sebalik tembok ni kan. Okay, so kita tahu how to prevent from this problem happen lah sebenarnya, tapi kita abaikan. So lama-kelamaan dia akan jadi lebih from the minor one to become as the major one. So kalau kita nak buat repairing ke, kita nak kita nak buat maintenance, dan melibatkan cost. This is the condition, the situation if we do not doing the well maintenance. Kita tak melihat keadaan the condition of the building, so building service pun akan affected. Cuba bayangkan ini adalah klinik. Kalau berlaku macam ni, boleh tak dijadikan sebagai klinik? Tak sesuai kan? Itulah dia. Okay, so yang ini kita akan sambung di dalam part yang kedua. So kita jumpa di dalam video yang seterusnya. Okay, so terima kasih.